Tonight on EWTN Live, we'll look into the messages and the mysteries behind the apparitions of Our Lady in Guadalupe, Mexico, and in Fatima, Portugal. So please stay with us. Thank you, and welcome. I'm Father Mitch Pacwa. Welcome to EWTN Live, where we bring you guests from all over the world. And our guests have come a good long distance from another part of the world. They are two authors and researchers who are trying to spread an even deeper understanding and appreciation for two of the most widely known Marian apparitions in the world, which are the appearances of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico and of Our Lady in Fatima, Portugal. With us tonight are the authors of the books Guadalupe Mysteries, Deciphering the Code, and the other is Fatima Mysteries, Mary's Message to the Modern Age. Please welcome my guests who've been here before and are old friends, Grzegorz Gorny and Janusz Rosikon. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome, Janusz.
So, when I say a long distance, Poland is not around the corner from America. It's good to have you back. I really enjoyed your last book, and I found it very useful in talking to people. Sometimes people who didn't know anything about the various witnesses to the Passion. The book on the various relics that we have of Jesus' suffering and death and resurrection. People didn't know, they know about him, but you helped us with that. Now, you're taking another step and dealing with the woman that stood next to the cross and was another kind of witness and is still an ongoing witness, namely the Blessed Virgin Mary. And you know, neither one of you are part Mexican, are you? Yeah, are you part Mexican?
No.
You're all Polish.
No, we are 100% Polish. So.
So why did you write about Our Lady of Guadalupe?
Two things were most important for us in Guadalupe. The first one in the message to Aztecs in the tilma on the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, because 9 million Indians converted into Catholicism during 9 years. And the second one is the professional research. In Mexico, we met many scientists who examined the tilma, the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and they tell us about their discovery.
Okay, so you went to Mexico.
Yes.
And you talked to the scientists. So it's not just, interviewing a few people that are crawling, because the devotion of Mexican people is shown in the way they come on their knees up to the church, and they do serious penance, especially when they are seeking special favors or are showing gratitude for a miracle or a favor that has been shown. But you also mostly consulted experts, scientists. What did these scientists have to say about the tilma? So, by the way, first of all, what is a tilma? What is that?
The tilma is the garment which was used by the Indians in Mexico in the 16th century. Tilma was made of agave fibers, cactus agave.
Yes, agave, agave fibers.
Agave. This material is very fragile, and no tilma of the 16th century was preserved until our time. These fabrics become disintegrated with age, and meanwhile only one tilma with the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe has remained intact for 5 centuries.
This was something that the peasants, the simple people, would make out of the yucca plant and the fibers of the yucca plant because it was very inexpensive. This was something anybody could make for themselves and weave into a simple garment. And in the climate of Mexico, it's helpful to them, but it's very fragile, you say.
Yes, very fragile. And scientists who examine this material claim that this fabric is in very good condition today. And how to explain it, nobody knows. The science is helpless.
Yeah. So they know it exists, but they don't know how to explain it. There's no scientific explanation of its long term. And so you've got the tilma, that's fine, but what else is important about the tilma and the conversion? Why is that so key?
On the tilma, we can see a lot of science and symbols. And these symbols and signs, the Aztecs knew these symbols and signs because we used the pictographic writing, and this symbolic writing on the tilma was very clear for there. Let me give you a few examples.
Okay.
The Saint Mary obscures the sun. What does it mean? She is more powerful than sun. She doesn't have a mask on her face. What does it mean? She's a woman, not a god. She has loose hair, which is characteristic for a virgin. But she has also above on her stomach. That means she's pregnant. And
right.
at the womb of pregnant Mary, there is the flower quince, which is a symbol of absolute perfection, of the center of the universe. That means the Mary carries God on her womb. And what does it mean altogether? Saint Mary is a woman, virgin, mother of God, and this God is most powerful than all gods in the universe.
And it's important to note that the Europeans who came to Mexico, mostly from Spain, did not learn the writing style of the Aztecs and the Mayas. That the Mayas had a script, and the Aztecs, I think, learned a lot of it from them, like the Greeks learned from the Phoenicians and so on. And we learned from the Latin. So we, alphabets. Once you get the idea of an alphabet, then anybody can use it. And so these were pictures that also were writing of words, and they had this meaning, and Europeans didn't know this meaning. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. This image was very readable, like for us, page in a book.
Yes.
Especially for Aztec priests, not for simple people. For European, that was not readable. Just painting of
Right.
Virgin Mary. That was absolutely clear that she's Virgin Mary, but that's it. Later they try to study what means all sign on the image, on this image, and try to study, try to find solution. And we've met few Mexican scientists, but also in Poland we've got some scientists who study this image, because this image is like twin shroud. Nobody knows why this image exists now, and what's happened. That it's like, for me, I'm a photographer, so for me it's like Polaroid picture, but made in 1531. In 1 second, when Juan Diego opened his tilma and fall down the flowers, the image was on his tilma. He was shocked why the Bishop Zumaraga kneels. What's happened? We've got very good relation in Nikal Mopochua. This relation was made 30 years later. The author, Indian, but speaking also Spanish, very educated Indian, wrote in original language huge, many pages. Now this original is in New York Library. So, and he met many times Juan Diego, and Juan Diego reported him what's happened. So this relation is very, very good. So we know the history, but 100 years later, the very famous painter from Spain tried to copy the image, and he said it's impossible, because we don't know what kind of pigments.
Yeah, what was the paint made
Was
out
the
of?
paint? Yeah, it's not the paint.
Yes.
It's not the paint. It's not aquarella. It's not oil. It's not the paint. So he told it's impossible to copy exact image of Virgin Mary. He made many copies. I took a picture of those paintings, but original is only one. Impossible to copy, because we don't know how this image was created.
And the image is something that not only had a huge impact, because one of the other elements is that the color of the Blessed Virgin's skin is like that of somebody from the Middle East or somebody from Mexico. You know, it's the color of the people, and they could. It's not only they could read the symbols, but they say, oh, it's not somebody from the Mother of God is not somebody from Europe. She looks like us, and that was important to them.
Yeah, especially that she looks like Indian girl, but also she spoke with Nahuatl, local language.
Right.
And she spoke not only in local language, but used idioms. Juan Diego tells that she tells him, my little boy, Juan Diego, I love you. This, especially, she used idioms from this language. So for Juan Diego, that was absolutely clear that she is Indian.
Yeah, so yeah, she didn't use, you know, sometimes when, you know, I study languages, I learn the very, in the books, they teach you a very formal style of the language, but then there's the street language.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so, and that's different, and that's true in English, and every language, you know, the clear, educated is one thing, but then you've got this the street language, and she uses what would be the equivalent of the idiomatic, the language of the folks, not the priests' educated language of the Aztec priests.
Yeah, so that was for Juan Diego, that was absolutely clear. It's something unbelievable that she saw the lady full of light, etc., but she spoke like his colleague.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting, and those is in this relation in Nikan Mopohua, translated of many languages now, but if I said it, the original is in New York, or in New York library, but also for Spanish people, the face of Our Lady is like Spanish face. So for Spanish people, it's just Our Lady. That was clear. For Indians, more information were in this image. They read this image like for us a page in the book. Many information, and those information spreading all over Mexico. So very quickly, thousands of Mexican people came to Mexico and asked about baptism. We've got relations that the priests were disaster because every day they baptized few thousand people from early morning to the night. So they were disaster, but they were very happy.
Yeah.
So in 9-10 years, they baptized 9 millions of Indians, thanks to this image. If not before, that was very hard work to just during few years baptize hundreds of people.
Yes.
No more, including, fortunately, Juan Diego.
It's interesting because when we do things by our own intelligence, by our own efforts, not so much. When God does it, there's the richness. This is not something that we can, people ask me, but what do I have to do to convert people? Well, you have to ask God, because conversion is God's grace, and it's not my efforts primarily. God uses me, but it is primarily His action. In this case, He sent His mother to communicate to the people, and in that way, she helped to bring people to Jesus. Like in the Gospel of John, do whatever He tells you. That's Our Lady pointing to Jesus.
That's very characteristic that Bishop Zumaraga sent many letters to the King of Spain. Please help me, but those letters was confiscated by the local Spanish government, because there was a kind of war between monks who tried to evangelize people, help Indians, and tell that Indians are 100% people. The local government tried to collect gold and money for him. So that was quite open war.
That was an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
In fact, Pope Paul III in 1536, I think it was, wrote a very clear encyclical condemning enslavement of the Native Americans.
Yeah.
And he was following his predecessors, because Eugene IV had said the same thing about African people in 1435. Well, he said in 1436. So, and Paul and Pius II had condemned slavery, and a couple others. And then Paul III, the papacy was really clear. You have no right to enslave people, but to bring them to Christ.
Yeah.
The church was very clear on that.
Yeah,
But the political people didn't want to listen to the church.
Not only political,
Again.
but also scientists from Oxford University, scientists, and also for Extremadura University, they say that Indians are maybe half human, half animal. So that was possible to hunting.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, that even showed up with Charles Darwin. In his book, The Descent of Man,
Really?
his second book, he said that Africans are a species in between the ape and the human being.
Ah, I didn't notice this. That's interesting.
And that they have to be, they're inferior so that to breed them out like you would inferior cattle. Those are his words. And so the scientists, even in the 1800s, had not changed about human dignity of people from the what we would now call third world.
But coming back to this letter, the last sentence of this letter is, if this letter was smuggled in the barrel of the honey, if God wouldn't help us, the Mexico will be lost. And few months later, we've got apparition of Our Lady. So
now, again, I started off asking you, you're not Mexican, you're Polish. And I got to say this too. You know, my family is from a small village, Nowa Jastrząbka, outside Tarnów. And I went there in 1979, and in the communist days.
yeah.
This was right after St. John Paul came to Poland as Pope for the first time. And people were, hi. But then I went back in 2002. And in between, at our parish in Nowa Jastrząbka, they built a chapel of Our Lady of Guadalupe. They said it was the first chapel of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Poland.
Oh, really?
So why is that? Does Pope John Paul's visit to Guadalupe? Because he went to Poland, but he also went to Guadalupe. Does any of this have any impact on how Polish people think about, and the rest of the world ought to think about Guadalupe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably the first Pope John Paul II visit was to Mexico. He visited Mexico like private person. Mm-hmm. The episcopate had to pay a special mandate for us because Pope used robe, white. That was forbidden at the time in Mexico for priests, for all.
What people don't realize, we've talked about the Cristero War, but
okay, so
the Masons took over the government of Mexico and made Catholicism illegal.
Illegal, yeah.
At one point, they even made wine illegal so that nobody could celebrate Mass.
Yeah. Officially.
Yeah. We're Catholics.
Yeah.
we find ways to do that. But it was, even till the Pope's visit, a priest could not wear his priestly clothes outside on the streets in Mexico. It was forbidden.
Now it's possible.
Yes.
Yeah. When we visited our friend priest from Łomianki, Father Jarek, only use official dress, the
Habit.
black habit.
Yeah, the habit.
The black habit. And on the street, thousands of people ask him, please bless us.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. We just walk on this Mexico street and stop, please, just touch, just bless us. So, and we observe in Poland this visit, and that was the first information about Our Lady of Guadalupe, because Poland had official
Yeah.
censorship, so all information was cut. So we didn't know nothing practically about the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. But after this first Pope visit, we noticed that it's not only our Black Lady in Częstochowa, but
Yeah,
it's
because
another.
the Madonna at Częstochowa is the national shrine
Yeah.
of
And
the
is a-
Blessed Virgin Mary, and her skin is black on the painting.
Yeah, and she's a queen of Poland until a few hundred years. So we noticed that in Mexico there's another very famous Madonna, and not only 5-6 million people every year came to her, but in Mexico over 20 millions. So, we noticed that must be very important. This image.
So that's good. Well, maybe that helped inspire our parish in Nowa Jastrzębka.
Probably.
Because they have one statue of the Blessed Mother that's from the medieval times. And they keep it closed. In the communist days, it was closed. Now it's open, but they would say, this is the treasure of all of Nowa Jastrzębka. And it was the statue of Our Lady. Now she's open, and Our Lady Guadalupe is there, and so this is what we celebrate. Now, something else, though, that's also I'd like to mention that it's good to note at the Battle of Lepanto, when the Christian fleet defeated invading Turks, the Turkish army was going to invade Rome because the Sultan of Turkey had sworn an oath to make St. Peter's Basilica into a mosque.
Yeah.
And so they had a couple 100,000 soldiers sailing in. The Christians defeated them and sank their fleet, but they had in the captain's cabin Our Lady of Guadalupe, a copy that had been sent from Mexico, and that was very important for them too, as well as praying the rosary all over Europe.
Yeah. In our book is information about this.
Yes.
There are many boxes with another information. So, and we visited this palace where is the Battle of Lepanto on the roof, the beautiful fresques
Yes.
in
Frescoes,
Rome,
yeah.
frescoes, yeah. And also thousands of people pray rosary
Yes.
in this intention.
So this book is called Guadalupe Mysteries, Deciphering the Code. And you can get that from EWTN Religious Catalog. It's item 1155. Just go to EWTNRC.com, or you can call them 1-800-854-6316. Now, we, of course, have just begun the 100th anniversary of the apparitions at Fatima, just a few days ago. So we will now continue on after our break with a discussion about Our Lady of Fatima and its impact on the modern world. So please stay with us. Welcome back. First of all, and weather gets so nice and beautiful here and elsewhere in the country, if you would like to come and join us and make a pilgrimage to EWTN, please contact our pilgrimage department. You can call them at 205-271-2966 or go to the website EWTN.com. And they will give you information about scheduling for masses and programs where you can be in the audience, as well as directions up to Huntsville to visit and pray with the sisters. And they'll let you know about places that are good for eating and for staying overnight. So please come, whether it's a group or as individuals or families. We'd love to have you here. Now, we are continuing on our discussion, and we're going to start talking about Fatima. The 100th anniversary of the first apparition at Fatima was on May 13th. And so we want to talk about this book called Fatima Mysteries, Mary's Message to the Modern Age. So let's start off with that. Why have you gone to study Our Lady of Fatima, which is in Portugal? Because you're not Portuguese either.
No. The apparitions of Fatima were the most important private revelations, not only of the 20th century, but also of the whole history of the Catholic Church. No other private revelations has seen such elaborate interpretations by the Holy See. Two popes, John Paul II and Benedict XVI, said that the Fatima's apparition has changed a course of history. And many people in the world believe that the collapse of communism was thanks to Our Lady of Fatima. In Fatima, Our Lady has shown people the rescue from the dreadful ideologies of the 20th century. And the remedy are prayer, rosary, repentance, conversion of heart, and two special requests. The first one is the devotion of the first 5 Saturdays, and the second one is the consecrating Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary by the Pope.
And it's important to understand for folks that this apparition in 1917, 100 years ago, was while the First World War was still going on. It had about another year and a half to continue on. And it was up to that point, the bloodiest war in the history of Europe, with between 20 and 25 million people dying in that war. So but there was, and it was a war over nationalism, where countries put their national identity ahead of morality, God, the church. None of that was part of the war. It was all about the nation and knocking out big empires. That was what this war, and the suffering was, among the worst known to that point. So this is, folks should understand that context of Fatima, with a warning that unless people did repent, it was going to get worse, and that a worse war would come if they didn't repent. So that's part of this warning, is it not?
In Fatima, Our Lady warned the people against the errors coming from Russia, which spread all over the world. And for us, very important that these errors of Russia are alive today. For example,
Well, let me just, again, I want to go backward to the context. At the time of the apparition in May 1917, did the communists rule Russia? No.
No.
It was Tsar Nikolai.
yes,
Tsar Nikolai was the Tsar of Russia. And
no.
No, that time, no.
Democratic government of Kerensky.
Oh, he already took over.
Yes.
Okay. So Kerensky had taken over in the first revolt against the Tsar,
Yes.
because the Tsar was failing at leading the war. It was a catastrophe for Russia. Millions died already in Russia. So Kerensky was already in charge. But were the Bolsheviks in charge? Not yet.
No. That time, no.
It was just about a week or two after the last, not even a week, just a few days after the last apparition,
Yes, 2 weeks.
that the Bolshevik Revolution took place in Russia, right? So the errors of communism had not started in Russia yet. There was no Bolshevik Revolution yet. That would come later. That's why this is also significant, that it was a prophecy of what would happen, but was not going on yet.
At that time, nobody knows what means errors
From Russia.
because it was half year before a revolution. So Our Lady warned children, please warn all people that if you don't consecrate, if Pope will not consecrate all over the world, and especially Russia, my Immaculate Heart, the errors from Russia spreading all over the world. For children, there was completely not understanding, because Francis thought that Russia is the name of the animal, the ales of the neighbors. Jacinta, so that is a lady, Russia, maybe he must convert it, because the children were illiterate, didn't went to school.
And how old were these children?
11, 8, 6. So, and
So they didn't know where Russia was.
absolutely no. That was like abstract for.
In fact,
for
they didn't
them.
even know that there was a Russia.
Oh, absolutely, because they live in a small village in Fatima. Fatima didn't was on the map that time. Just few houses, maybe 100 or maybe 200 people lived that time in Fatima. No school.
Yeah.
So.
This is like my family's village, Nova Yashtomka. This is not on the maps.
Oh, but in Nova Yashtomka at that time was a school and people was more educated. I think.
No.
Yeah, but for children, of course, in Lucia only heard and talked to our mother, because Jacinta heard the lady, because children didn't know during the first apparitions who is the lady from heaven, because she told children, I came from heaven. That's it. During the last apparition, I tell you who I am. So for children, this situation must be very difficult. Of course, they met in 1916, just after Portugal joined the war, because the Macedonian government in Portugal decided to send a soldier, Portuguese soldier, to help England. So in 1916, the angel met children 3 times. Not 100, because we don't know exactly. 100, that was the angel of Portugal. But the angels prepared children to this meeting with Our Lady. Because before, children pray rosary, but like this, Ave Maria, 10 times, Ave Maria, that's it, as quick as possible, and go to, you know, play.
Yeah.
After meeting with the angel, children pray all rosary. So when they met the lady from heaven, they pray not only rosary, but the angel learned them new prayers. So they were prepared. So this plan established not in 1917, but earlier, because in 1916 the angel met children. So
it began with 3 apparitions by an angel or angels,
Yeah.
we don't know which, to the children. So they were only 5 and 7 and 10.
yeah, exactly.
And so they're just very small. And then the next year, in May 13th of 1917, they get their first apparition of the lady, but they don't know who it is, just that she comes from heaven. How many times did the Blessed Mother meet with them?
Half a year,
6 times.
6 months.
6 times. Every 13th day of month, excluding the August, when the children were kidnapped by local government, by the man who decided to kidnap children, because for the local government, that was the shame that in small village, Fatima, thousands people, because during the first operation only 3 children, the next just 50 people, the next few thousand people.
In fact, again, it's good to note that the government of Portugal was secular.
Yeah.
And they hated the church.
Yeah.
They were this has been a tension in Portugal for a long time. I remember in the 1770s, the Prime Minister, Pombal, had all the Jesuits arrested.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to he said, if I get rid of the Jesuits, I'll get rid of the rest of the church. And he was a Mason himself and a philosopher. So he hated the church. But now in the 1900s, it was a secular, anti-religious government.
Yeah.
They hated religion. They hated the Catholic Church. They believed the Catholic Church stopped progress. And this was an embarrassment. So they kidnapped the kids.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And go with kids to her house and try to explain, please tell that there are some mystification, is not true. Children tell, no, we've met the lady. So he decided to arrest it in the ordinary prison with one room with some criminalists. Children pray rosary, and all prisoners pray also with the children.
So the children were a bad influence on the criminals.
Exactly.
They get them to start praying.
Yeah, so he decided, okay, let's come back home, because no chance to change the children. And children were sure that Our Lady didn't appear him in August, but this day when they came back home, they went like every day with the animals,
sheep.
To train the sheep, to cover the area, and Mother of God appeared them and tell him, sorry, the miracle on the 13th of October will be a little bit lower, a little bit not a big like I planned, because you were arrested. But please, came on 13th of October, will be the miracle. I want to show the people that you are right. So for children, that was very, very nice that they met Our Lady also in August. Not 13, but I didn't remember.
17.
17 or
16,
16?
17, yes.
17, yeah, yeah, you're right. But children had also problems with parents, because parents, generally speaking, didn't believe and were afraid.
And they didn't want trouble with the government.
Yeah.
Now, because of time, I want to make sure we cover some other points. On the 13th of October, again, just a little bit before the October Revolution of the Bolsheviks in Russia, before they started spreading their errors and death and destruction, the children had their last apparition of the Blessed Mother. And what was the sign that everybody saw? What was the miracle that they saw?
From early morning, about 70,000 people came to Kavadai area. That was heavy rain. That was like sea of umbrellas. When children came about noon, astronomic time, that was about 2 p.m., that was a heavy rain, and some policemen protected children because mother of Lucia was afraid that nothing will happen, and the people
will revolt or will attack them.
So, but in one moment when the children kneel behind the oak, and that was small lightning, like always, and children saw the lady, and Lucia show, oh, it's the lady. People, all people, sorry, before Lucia tell, please close umbrellas. That was a heavy rain, but all people closed umbrellas. And when Lucia showed the sky, all people look at the sky, and in this moment the sun changed. Sun was a huge light, different light that was possible to see sun without
damage.
Damage the eyes. And in one moment, sun sent multicolors rays. Once all people are red, the next yellow, the next green. We've got very good relation made by one of professors who decided to observe this with watch. In 1917, watch was something very special, and binoculars. So, and he noted at midnight happened this. We've got this.
So this professor gave very precise
information
about the miracle.
Yeah. So so for people there was something unbelievable. The rays, the sun started to dance, and people are amazing. But in one moment, sun started go down. All people kneeling and pray, because people were sure that would be killed in a moment, because sun fall down and all people will be killed. In one moment, sun stopped and go back to the place. And people constated that we are all dry. Before wet, in few minutes, completely dry, and mud all disappeared. That was normal.
So, all the mud completely dried in a couple minutes.
Yeah, and also people, if you use dryer, so you have to wait 1 hour.
I was, I got to meet an actor Martin Sheen, and his father was from Spain, but not real far away from Fatima, but he was still in Spain. And he could see the miracle of the sun in Spain. So it wasn't just the people there. He didn't know what was happening, but he could see the sun dancing and such. Yeah. So this was a big miracle reported by the secular atheistic papers. Yeah. Everybody, the government saw this. And one of the other things, because again, we're just only about 5 minutes left, but it's important to note that Our Lady had predicted that if the world did not repent, an even worse war would take place.
Yeah.
And in 1938, January of 38, the Aurora Borealis, which is up, I've seen it in Alaska. It's very pretty and all that, but they could see it all the way down to Morocco and North Africa and all over Europe. And Mother Angelica saw it in Cleveland.
Oh, really?
When she was a girl in 1938. She remembered it. You know, I thought she and I had spoken, in a conversation once about it. But she had seen it in North America. And it engulfed, because the World War went all the way down to Africa. And so this was a sign. And then it was just in March, I think, that the Anschluss of Austria began. And then the invasion of Czechoslovakia and so on. And then the war in Poland.
So all started.
So it was the sign that she promised for the war is seen as that. Because that was reported in the newspapers. So now, in terms of the modern world, again, we have about 4 minutes left. What does this mean for the modern world? And what kind of monkey business were you doing in Red Square?
In 1984, I visited Fatima, and we take there are two statues of Virgin Mary, the same, but one is used for traveling all over the world.
Yes.
And the Polish monks decided to invite Our Lady to Poland and to Russia. And I traveled with Mother from Fatima to Poland, and after that to Moscow. And one day when I was in the cloister, just two small apartments in Moscow blocks, I asked them, listen, we have to go to the Red Square with Our Lady. The Franciscan tell, oh, no, it's too dangerous. No, we have to go. So, okay, we went to Red Square in Moscow. They keep the lady like this. I took picture, come back. But in the car, I tell, no, we have to go again and put our mother on the pavement of Red Square. I don't know why.
Because you're a troublemaker.
Yeah, but the Father Grzegorz Gorny, he was a chef of Franciscan, said, Janusz, let's go. So both we went to this Red Square, put Our Lady on the pavement of the Red Square. I made about 70 pictures using 2 films. Yeah. Just the people around us just disappeared, didn't know what's happened.
Yeah.
And on this picture you see is a few minutes before 3.
Yeah.
On the Kremlin clock.
Yes.
And here the red lights. So that was quite characteristic. And here is a Lenin mausoleum.
Yeah.
So, but the lady is on the Red Square in Moscow.
And
later we visited Perm on the border of Europe.
We run flat out of time, but it's important to know that the communist government fell, and Our Lady said that there would be conversion in Russia. We still want to see more of that. But in this year, let's all pray the rosary more every day, and make the commitment to Our Lady in this anniversary, 100th anniversary. Thank you both for coming so far, and may the Lord bless you and Our Lady intercede for you and direct you in all your ways to the peace of God. God bless you, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. And we can bring you this celebration of the anniversary of Fatima and so many other great programs because this network is brought to you by you. So please keep us in between your gas bill and electric bill and cable bill, and we'll be able to keep bringing good guests over here to teach us more about the power of our faith and the good things that God is doing in our world. And of course, go to Religious Catalog and get these books. You can see that picture. God bless.